Thanks for tuning in to this WVU Hoops edition of Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports, Mountaineer Nation. It's a big one tonight, a cold Hope Coliseum, Morgantown, West Virginia atmosphere for a Big 12 game against the Kansas State Wildcats. And West Virginia is now about 2/3 of the way through the regular season. They've played 20 games with a 13-7 overall record. They've started out 4-3 in Big 12 play. Now I feel like West Virginia is about to start out what I'm calling its last stand. So please like this video so more Mountaineer fans can see it across YouTube. Love to have you a subscriber to my channel. And please leave your comments in the comment section because I love to tune into those, whether good, bad, or indifferent. So what do I mean by that? What do we care about as Mountaineer fans? Getting to the NCAA Tournament. March Madness, it's all about the regular season's build up to that final payoff in the postseason. I just think back to some of the years West Virginia has had really good regular season victories, inspiring against ranked opponents, and they just do not matter unless your team is making the postseason. And it's felt like eons. It's just 8 years ago since West Virginia was playing in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, since Javon Carter and Daxter Miles went down to the Villanova Wildcats. I'm wearing my NCAA Sweet 16 2015 t-shirt for this video for a reason, just because it's West Virginia basketball, it seems like, has been through so much over the last 4 seasons with 4 different head coaches, zero stability, yet for the last 2 seasons, and even going back to Bob Huggins' last season, that West Virginia was just on the precipice of getting back to what it felt like was Mountaineer basketball, contending to get back not only to the NCAA tournament, but the second weekend. So unless West Virginia goes on a bit of a heater, I would argue right here, that's not going to be the case. And if you felt like you've been, off the boat, then back on the boat, just feeling like I don't know whether to be in or out on this team, I can't help but feel like I've been in the same kind of way. Feeling a bit out on this year's team after that Ohio State loss, then being back in after winning against Kansas. Then this past Saturday, I'm just like, ooh, has West Virginia really shown who they are, is what I mean to play by this. So as we know, didn't start off the year well in non-conference play, 9-4, but we're 1-4 against teams with Power 5 opponents. Now, out of the gate in Big 12 play, they beat Cincinnati, a ranked Kansas team, Colorado all at home, and then finally getting its first home or road victory of the season last week against Arizona State, but losing 3 road contests to top 10 teams, Iowa State, Houston, and Arizona, and quite honestly not looking all that competitive in those away games. West Virginia, as of today, sitting 67th in the net NCAA rankings, with a 2-7 record versus Quad 1 and Quad 2 opponents. For context, let's take the outliers to getting into the NCAA tournament field. So back in 2022, Rutgers at 77th was the lowest rated team in the net to ever make the NCAA tournament field. And then again, looking at last year's hated North Carolina team that got in over West Virginia into the NCAA tournament field, was 36th in the net with a 22-13 overall record, but 1-12 record versus Quad 1. They were 20-1 versus Quads 2 and Quad 4. So West Virginia has some ground really to make up in that department on the way through. But I just don't know as of this moment. I want to put a pin into it and come back, as if there's going to be this opportunity for them to bolster their roster to the point of that it's like, ooh, look here, shiny West Virginia with all of these ranked wins like they had a season ago. They can stack victories, have that potential for that, and that's the way I think that they need to do it. Similarly to the way that the baseball team has done that the last few years. Yeah, baseball teams had more ranked wins, obviously, than this year's basketball team. but kind of apples to orange comparison, but I think where I'm going with that. So looking at the schedule, this is nice for West Virginia to rebound after its first road back-to-back in conference play last week out in the state of Arizona, come back this week with a Kansas State team that's really reeling at 500 and a Baylor team that's kind of down on expectations as well this year. Next week, at Cincinnati, who's kind of rebounded after there was supposedly going to be a paper bag game in protest of their head coach. That's kind of funny. But then next Sunday, February 8th, West Virginia has one of its arguably toughest games of the year, not just of at home, but of the entire year against a loaded Texas Tech team. Then they're off for the business week of February 9th through 13th before taking on UCF, who's maybe the most dangerous team that's beatable still left on their schedule, on the road Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th in Orlando against the Golden Knights. Then they're at home the following week against Utah before West Virginia's second road back-to-back of the season, Saturday, February 21st at TCU, Tuesday at Oklahoma State. Come back home that Saturday for a huge contest against A.J. Dybansa and the BYU Cougars on Saturday, February 28th. Back out to Kansas State, who West Virginia plays tonight, Tuesday, March 3rd, to then come back home on Saturday, March 6th for Senior Day against UCF. So 11 more games, 6 of them at the home Coliseum. Can West Virginia potentially go? I mean, what's the golden number here? What's the magic number? Is it 9-2? Perhaps 5-0 on the road? To get to the Big 12 tournament with, say, a 24-9 record, is that good enough? Again, if none of those opponents, or if any of those opponents outside of TCU and, Texas Tech and BYU are ranked, is that then good enough for West Virginia to get into the NCAA tournament with, yes, a 24-9 record, but only a one-ranked win against a Kansas team? Now, I feel as if West Virginia falls within the top 7 of the Big 12 standings, which if they got to 24-9, which is right around or maybe just a bit ahead of where I predicted. I'd have to go back and watch my preseason predictions show right before the season started. But that's what I thought, is if West Virginia, with the way that the schedule laid itself out, especially once it got through that gauntlet of the first 3 weeks of January, could really turn it on, turn up momentum, that 20 wins or more is definitely in the possibility for West Virginia. So that's what I'm wondering. Is it 23-10? Like, what is that magic number? I think now at this point in time, though, again, quantity is going to outweigh quality, just because it seems like West Virginia has shown, in those games, and every game is its own game. It's not like there's any sort of a correlation here, but when they went on the road against Iowa State, Houston, and Arizona, those opponents really took it to them. And again, this is, after West Virginia didn't beat Ohio State in a double overtime contest, didn't beat Clemson in an overtime contest. I know that Clemson's a ranked team. Would have really been nice to bolster West Virginia's resume up to this point in the season with both of those wins. Or Wake Forest or Xavier, who West Virginia did not play well against both, one of those being at a neutral site. In-state at a neutral site, if you want to call that, and Wake Forest, still pro-West Virginia crowd there. So I would just say, there are really 3 things I feel like that are worrying me, that I'm not yet feeling so bold as to say, like, West Virginia's got this, they're going to be back. The minutes are adding up, and I don't want to see West Virginia gas out down the stretch. If you tuned into my to the episode that I was featured in with Mountaineer Paul on his Locked On West Virginia sports program last week, that's what I said that I was really concerned about, was that West Virginia, while it had what seems like nicely fitting 8-man rotation, that's what I saw last year, and West Virginia flamed out. I like that West Virginia is getting a few more minutes for Morris Ugasuk. He played 8 minutes in last Saturday's contest against Arizona, so tied for the second most minutes he's played in a game since Coppin State on December 3rd. I'd like to see West Virginia to be able to rotate in 4 guards with Jasper Floyd Honor Huff and Amir Jenkins if Chance Moore is going to play more of the small forward type of role and back up with Trayson Eaglestaff or rotate himself in, because he's a stretch winger, I would say, more so than he is a guard. But I want to see Morris Ugasu get in there and contribute some valuable minutes. Doesn't have to be starters minutes, but to give you some quality time to get Honor Huff off his feet, and Jasper Floyd, who are starters. I would also say I'm concerned with this injury to Jackson Fields. Forces more minutes onto DJ Thomas while asking more out of Brennan Moore and Lorient and Harlan Obioha. Not saying that DJ Thomas isn't capable. In fact, right now, my most intriguing freshman prospect, I feel like, going forward for this program, that I really think that West Virginia can kind of build down low around him for the future. When Lorient graduates, Harlan Obioha, we can talk about roster management and that whole operation later into the spring and summer. But right now, I just really like that DJ Thomas was a guy who was going to be going to an American conference school, and now it looks like he's making Ross Hodge's prophecies come true, and that he thinks that he could translate to the Big 12, and he's showing to be able to do so. But, you're asking for major minutes out of Brennan Lorient, and still Harlan Obioha is playing about half the games on average. So I'd like to see Jackson Fields get in there and contribute more than he's only played 3 out of the last 6 contests, and out of those total, I think he's played 16 minutes in those 3 contests. So that's obviously not going to be enough. I know Coach Hodge said during his press conference, I think it was after the Arizona State game, or talking with a media scrum once the team came back from Arizona, that they're thinking about medically redshirting Jackson Fields. Now that sets off some red flags to me, because I've seen this story before in the even pre-NIL era with Sagaba Konate, but also in the now NIL era in a guy who's was medically held back for half the season or so, come back, and it's just not been 100%. And then, what do you know? Jaden Stone is playing for Missouri now. Not an apples to apples comparison here, and I don't want to put that on Jackson Fields, but it's just like, you can't help but still feel that PTSD worry in the back of your mind when it's like, wow, West Virginia really needs Jackson Fields now. I feel like if they want to have this home stretch, but they want to get to the NCAA tournament, he can contribute, even if it's 10 minutes per game, to have him alongside those 3 that I already mentioned. Because I'm sorry, Trayson Eaglestaff is not going to play in the post. Chance Moore is not going to play in the post. You're really down to those 3 guys, because Abraham Oyedir is kind of AWOL, and there's no you don't trust any of the other forwards or freshmen, to contribite those kinds of minutes. So I get it. Would you rather have Jackson Fields at 100% versus, I don't know what he's able to contribute as of right now, but it just kind of sucks. You want to have him out there. I guess they're gonna play it by ear. I'm just giving it to you, open wound wholeheartedly from a fan perspective here. Is I would rather have what Jackson Fields can contribute down this home stretch for the next 11 games, take your battles, than, all right, let's medically redshirt, punt, and, essentially punt on this year for next year. I think you need him. I don't know. That's just my feeling. I also just think that the Big 12 is really punching back on Honor Huff, and I don't want to see him frustrated when he's not shooting the ball at the volume he's accustomed to and putting up bad shots, which I think kind of happened to him last week at Arizona State and at Arizona. I think that teams are just trying to face guard him for full 40 minutes, put their best on-ball defender, try and shut down Honor, and not let him put up any quality look, and force West Virginia's secondary scorers to beat them. I said that was a good thing in my program with Paul about for Trace and Eagles staff and how he's been able to parlay that into double-digit scoring efforts here to start out Big 12 play. You need that. If West Virginia is going to get to the NCAA tournament, it's going to need Trace and Eagles staff to play like the player that they thought they were getting this past spring. Lorient has to continue to be an enforcer, a captain down low, and some other secondary scorers on a game-by-game basis step up to the plate. I'm looking at you, Chance Moore. I'm looking at you, Jasper Floyd. And then also just, I don't even know what to kind of summarize this all under one umbrella, but it's like overcoming slow starts, feeling reactive to the game instead of taking the game to the opponent and really looking passive. I'm sorry, but I felt like in the first 90 seconds of that game Saturday against Arizona, it was over. It was like, whoa, geez, Carson. Like, fair weather fan right there. But it's just like, I've seen this movie one too many times where, and it really has just, I felt like, in the last few years. So I want to give West Virginia the benefit of the doubt because it is so freaking hard. And fans like myself and others are not patient in this world of college sports right now, and the aspect of how much effect turnover takes on a program. So from, again, 4 coaches in 4 different seasons over the last 4 years, rosters completely flipping over 2 times. Like, that's where it's hard to be patient in thinking. Like, you can't do that, especially because there's so many one-year players. It's like, this is their one shot. You use all of the non-conference season really to potentially gel together. I know they've only played 20 games, but by 20 games, should you be at your fullest form? And I get it. Arizona may win the national championship this year. They're the number 1 team, undefeated. I don't know what happened in their game last night against BYU. But anyway, besides the point, they have it all. They have it all put together. Finally might be their year. But for West Virginia, it just seemed like came out, a couple of bad shots taken, looking discombobulated, not finding your man the other way, seeming like the Arizona crowd was kind of in their heads. It's just like it's happened against Houston, it's happened against Iowa State, now happening against Arizona. It's just like, again, I'm very lukewarm on this team. I want to be all in. I want to, I think there's a majority of you looking at my analytics over the last few years. Anytime I'm talking basketball, you've already kind of tuned out on the season, or you know that ultimately it's not going to result in West Virginia playing in March Madness. So have they kind of already punted on, let's look, toward next year and what Miles Sadler and Alou Diem's going to bring in and talk about roster management. Like, I want something to finally stick and all right, we can count on this and follow throughout the course of the season. But I don't know. I'm not getting really that vibe, at least based on viewership, responses, and even just internally myself watching these games and seeing what the talk is on social media. It just seems like there is a wait and see approach, and we've waited and saw all the way up to January 27th. So this is where you finally need to, shit or get off the pot, is my dad always likes to say. So prove yourself. You have so many of these games at home coming down the stretch that matter. I'm looking at that game next Sunday against Texas Tech. I'm looking at that game at the end of February against BYU. But again, if you can't win those games against those tough opponents, like the matchups against UCF, I feel like are going to be pivotal for West Virginia's net ranking, and then some of these others here that you really just want to take it up against. I'm looking at that road back-to-back at TCU and Oklahoma State, looking at where they're at in the standings. And West Virginia has not done well against Baylor these last few seasons, it feels like. So I'd love to knock off those Bears. So how you feeling, Mountaineer Nation? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm a little bit harsh? Leave your comments here on YouTube, good, bad, or indifferent. And please like this video so more Mountaineer fans can see it across YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it. So thanks for tuning in. Go Ears.